Welcome to the Junior Golf Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping parents and juniors navigate through the journey of junior golf. From fitness to mental coaching, we cover it all on this podcast. Here's your host, Ro Thompson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Junior Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Ro Thompson. And as always, we have a special guest on the podcast today. We have none other than Ralph Bauer from Tour Read Golf app. He's developed an application that can help players read greens. So, how you doing? How you doing, Ralph?
Yeah, real good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate this. Big fan of junior golf.
Thank you. Well, listen, I saw one of your social media posts about 6 to 9 months ago, and I reached out, and I think I spoke with one of your assistants, and he said, try it out. Let us know how you like it, and we love it. As I was telling you before we get into a little bit of discussion, as I was telling you, Coach Puggy Blackman was teaching us aim point, and he had us to go buy the little instrument to pick up the breaks on the greens, and he taught us aim point. So we'll get into all that in just a little bit. But before we get into the podcast, tell us a little bit about yourself, Ralph.
Yeah, so I'm a golf coach. I've been doing this for quite a while. I've coached in the PGA Tour for the last 17 years. Okay. This year, students of mine in the PGA Tour won $40 million. So that was a lot of fun. I get to work with the best players in the world. I get to work with aspiring juniors at home in Canada, and I've been fortunate to have about 50 of my students play Division I college golf. It's just been kind of my whole life has been, my whole working life has been really been focused on helping people play better golf at any level, which has been, it's been a lot of fun. It's just something I'm super passionate about. I put everything I've got into it, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's fun to work with tour players, but it's really just fun to work with anybody that wants to get better.
That's great. And I think for the most part, Ralph, you're right. I think when you play golf, everybody wants to get better. I don't think, my wife always asks me, whenever I play a round, and let's say if I have a bad round, she always asks, well, how was your round today? I said, well, it wasn't that great today. Did you have fun? I said, no, you don't have fun when you play bad golf. You typically have fun when you shoot a great round, but you know how that goes. But so how did you get into golf?
So, I grew up in a very, very small town. I still live in the same small town. I live 30 minutes from the nearest stoplight. So it's a very small town. Okay. And there really wasn't much to do, but there was a 9-hole golf course, and just fell in love with it. And I would just play golf all day, every day in the summertime. I just couldn't get enough. Just kept playing golf. Then I was lucky enough to, get pretty good. Got a golf scholarship. Went to go play college golf at a powerhouse Division I team, which was fun. So I got to play with Mickelson, Furyk, all those guys. Okay. And then it was kind of cool because then you could, I was fascinated with why some people made it and some people didn't. Right. And that kind of question there kind of led me into coaching. So I've just been around golf my whole life at a high level, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. So talk to us about how you came up with this idea about the Tour Read app.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've coached on the PGA Tour for about 17 years. So matching up, I always thought if we could get, in order to separate yourself from other players, a great way to do that was to be able to make more breaking putts. Right. I felt like pretty much everybody was pretty good at straight putts. Right. We don't really get many straight putts though. You probably get, if you get two around, it's outside of 5 feet. It's kind of unusual, right? Right. So I thought, hey, let's help people with breaking putts. So I would spend hours and hours and hours with players on tour, helping them get better at it. Big thing I realized I found was that people would miss putts and they would always blame their stroke. And I would be behind them. If you check out my social media, I'm laying down in putting greens all the time. So I'd be laying down behind them, laying on the putting green, and like, oh, I pulled it. I'm like, no, that just broke more than we thought. Let's aim a little higher, get aim higher, and then go in. But at least then they weren't blaming their stroke, right? So I feel like I read a report to a study today that PGA Tour players from 12 feet, if they got a straight putt on a perfect green, they're going to make 90% of them.
Wow.
Right. But the make percentage on the PGA Tour is only 30%. Right. So I feel like most instruction is trying to get somebody to make, instead of going from 90% to 91%. Right. But we're missing that whole 60% that's green reading and speed. Right. So that's been my main focus, is helping people read greens better and be able to match up their line and their speed. Right. Obviously stroke's important, but even if you're at 88% from 12 feet, you still got, the easiest way for you to get better is to read greens.
Right. Good. And that's good, because, what I've seen is, a lot of people, and we'll get into this in a minute. A lot of people use aim point. They kind of try to feel the brakes under their feet. I'm a pretty good putter myself, but what I attribute it to is making sure I go to the other side of the putt to look at the brake as the ball is coming to the hole. But give us some reviews on how this app has helped golfers, juniors, touring pros, college players. How has this app helped them?
Yeah, I mean, it's the average player that use the app tells us they pick up 2 shots. They're saving 2 shots around.
Okay.
PGA Tour players are saving less than 2 shots around, but definitely more, right? I had a tour player win an event this year. He won the event. He's in the interview, he said, I've been putting better because I've been using, the tour read system on the putting green has been super helpful. That's right. I know the NCAA women's and men's national championship teams both got certified, both won it. As a Canadian, it was fun to see Nick Taylor win the Canadian Open this year. He uses the app every day in his warm-ups, right? So we kind of designed it for the average player, but it's it's helping everybody read greens better, because it's such a thing. When I first started studying PGA Tour players with this, the average PGA Tour player on a left to right putt would only recognize 70% of the break.
Wow.
So if it was going to break 10 inches, they would think it's 7, right?
Oh.
Oddly enough, on a right to lefter, they would only underestimate it by 15%. And these are the best players in the world. PGA Tour players are the best players in the world. And they were off by, on average over 20% under reading, right? So I've had so many juniors where I would test their green reading. They would say, I think it's 2 inches outside. I'm like, no, it's 2 feet outside.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And then once they get the hang of that, boy, the sky. I've just got so many college players and juniors from around the world,
right,
who are putting so much better, right? And just an easy thing to do is get better at green reading. We've got a great system, and we've refined it over the last couple of years to make it more streamlined, to have better practice plans, to get people better quicker. I had a senior PGA Tour player, reach out to me last couple of weeks, and he's won the senior tour this year. He's in his late 50s. He's like, hey, I want to get better at green reading. He's like, wow, right. This is great, right? So I feel like if it's going to help them, it's going to help anybody.
That's great. That's great. Great insight. And so tell us about the tour read system. How does it work? how, if somebody decided to, get into the app, how do you go about learning the system?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So what happened, how this started, when I coached on tour, I had all these secrets. I had all these, you know, I had all these things that if you weren't one of my 5 guys, I wasn't going to share with you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you were, I didn't want somebody else really to play well, because then that was taking money out of my 5 guys' pocket and ultimately mine. Right. So,
Right.
my college coach used to say, every shot makes somebody happy. Right. So, I've always thought that's true. So basically what happened was, I came home. If somebody tells me they're an engineer, I'm going to get pretty detailed with them,
Mhm.
right? So I gave a lesson to an engineer. It was the best golf lesson I ever gave. I gave a lesson to an engineer. I had all my charts. I had theories on how up and down affected the break.
Mhm.
Stems, slopes, overweighting. I had quite a bit of stuff. So I
Okay.
threw it all at him. And he's like, "Wow, Ralph, we should turn this into an app." And I
Wow.
go, "Yeah, but I don't know how to, I don't know how to, I don't know how
Program.
to do that."
Right.
Right? It's like, that's what I do. Right? So then we had COVID and we had the lockdowns, and that's kind of what we worked on. And
Okay.
I've spent, so anyways, what happens is the phone, phones are amazing, right? I
Right.
mean, it's scary what they can do. So your phone's got an internal clinometer in it, and the clinometer is, a 360-degree level.
Oh, wow.
If you think about, I know the first time I wanted to buy an iPad, it was because you're seeing that app where you could hold it up and it'll tell you what all the stars are.
I haven't seen that.
That's pretty cool. So you can hold
Yeah,
it up and it'll tell you where all the stars are, and
that is pretty cool.
where Jupiter is and all this stuff, right? So, anyways, you think about the same technology, but your app knows how to align itself in time and space. Like, it knows what level it is. It's got a very accurate clinometer in there.
Right.
So we coded that out. Okay, so to simplify this, basically what we did, we got the physics behind, reading behind how much putts break,
Right.
right? It's not that complicated. It's the slope, right, and then the speed of the greens,
Right. Correct.
right? So all we did is you have to input you put your phone on the ground.
Okay.
It'll measure the between the ball and the hole.
Okay. The length.
Put
Okay.
down, so if you got a 10-footer, put it down 7 feet from the ball towards the hole. You
Right.
set it down there. It'll measure the slope of the ground.
Okay.
You have to tell it it's a 10-footer on a 10 stem. It'll tell you where to aim the putt.
Okay.
It's shockingly accurate. And
That's what we need, right?
Yeah, and well, it's a machine. Machines are pretty good.
Right.
You can take 2 reads if you want and take the average, but it's shockingly accurate. And then when I've tested against PGA Tour players, they're like, "Oh, I can take the machine. I'm a good green reader." It's still undefeated, right? So
Wow.
that part's, yeah, like it's pretty good. And then, but we don't. But I'm a golf coach, so I want to train people on how to become better putters, right?
Correct.
I want them to go out in the golf course without the app and make more putts, right? So the app has a training system in it, right? It like that I've developed over the last, me and my partner have developed over and continue to refine it. I've personally taught about 700 people, right, with amazing results. Like,
That's good.
everybody just blown away how easy it is. And then, so what we do, you put the phone down, it gives you the read.
Right.
And we've got a system on how to wean yourself off the app,
Okay.
so that you can go to the golf course without the app and very accurately and very quickly read greens.
Okay.
It's by far the most accurate green reading system in the world. There's nothing else like it. Whenever and how I can say that is, whenever myself or somebody that's certified in the system,
Right.
or who's gone through the app a bunch,
Yeah.
goes up against any other green reading system, it's not even close. So it's super easy to use and super accurate, which is a good combination.
Listen, I when I saw the app, I was like, man, this is amazing. And with you telling me, about how many people are using it, it really needs to be more. I mean, when you think about when a player doesn't shoot as good as they can, whether a junior, touring pro, NCAA player, a lot of it comes down to putting, and
I agree, and I think that I've got a master's hat on. We were just talking about masters because you live in Columbia, but
right,
masters last year was pretty cool for me. I showed up Monday and I saw a caddy that I didn't know. I knew he was. I didn't really know him, and him and his player were using my system at Augusta. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool that people I don't even know now are using that system, right? So that's been fun, and yeah, I feel like people don't appreciate how important green reading is because they're constantly blaming their putting stroke.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you.
Yeah, so if you don't know what the problem is, then you're not able to fix it. If you said, hey, you know what, let's read our greens better, then then you're not going to be as if confidence is important in putting, right? And if we are constantly blaming our stroke when the stroke isn't the problem, I mean, how are you going to be confident in the next hole, right? So if I was gonna, I think one of the things if I could have like one wish out of this, I guess, would that be, I think if people would enjoy their game and get much better if they weren't constantly blaming a stroke and were recognizing for the most part most of your misses are because of a misread.
That's correct. It's funny you say that because I just saw a post about, is it Ben Crenshaw's putting stroke? It was one of the best putters in the history, and he had a total inside to out stroke, and what they were trying to say was you can't blame it on the putting. It's not the stroke. It's just you being able to read the green. So I think you're exactly right, because I know we spent a lot of time on the stroke, and I think the other caveat is to be able to really read the greens properly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you still need a good stroke. I mean, you need a good stroke, but that's not that hard to do. I mean,
right.
You have a good posture, good ball position, good alignment,
good head position. Right.
Yeah, there's lots of information out there on how to have a good setup and a good stroke. I feel like, the part that's missing is the greenery and also matching up the pace with the green with the speed, right?
Right.
I've had lots of players, especially people who play tournaments or they're getting ready for club championship or whatnot, and the green speeds are different. Well, our system allows you to know exactly, okay, if that's what the green speed is, here's how much it affects the putt, right? So you're not guessing. I've had a lot of tour players tell me that, Ralph, what really helps me is that it gets me used to if I go to Memorial, the greens are faster, I adapt way quicker. It used to take me, 2-3 days. Now I can do it in half hour, right?
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. The quicker we learn something, the better, the better it'll be. Also think I was pretty excited to see you think about the Junior Golf Podcast, because if you think about how important it is, if you got if you've been a good player for 20 years, right, you're going to get better at green reading, right? Trial and error, you're going to get better at it. But who's got 20 years to put into trial and error?
No.
Even then, tour players are off by quite a bit. So right, if we could teach people in a couple weeks how to become a great green reader, let's go for the couple weeks over the 20 years.
Yeah, because you want to shave strokes as quick as possible, and sometimes what I've noticed is I'm gonna just speak for my son, okay? What I've noticed is he doesn't adjust as quick as he need to, so he may go 2, 3, 4 holes still making the same mistake, blowing the putt by, not getting it to the hole. It's just a lot of little mistakes that if he could get it quicker, then that would really help.
Yeah, and warm-ups are important. Like,
right,
how you warm up your putting is important. I think it's important to, it's kind of funny. People, if you think about the average person or let's say the average elite junior, right? Okay, well, how much you work on your putting stroke? They'll say, okay, well, half hour a day, right? Like, how much do you work on green reading? Well, not really much at all, or if anything, right? So, and if green reading's the most important part, let's say,
you're right.
Then, or certainly the easiest way to get better, or then why aren't we practicing it more, right? So, yeah, I mean, your son, we've got practice plans and stuff. I know when you first got the app, we didn't have as much content in the play section. We do now, so I strongly encourage you to take a look at that.
Okay.
And everybody that goes through the on course section and the practice plan, gets better.
Okay, that's good. Now, how would you
have him do that?
Okay, I will. I have him do that. And how would you say, Ralph, is this complementary to Aim Point, or?
Yeah, so we've got a system that that we've developed that we think is the best in the world.
Okay.
And it's just a lot more precise than anything else out there.
Okay.
Putting, if we're hitting a 7-iron into a green,
right,
and we're off by 12, 15 feet, still a good shot, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Got a 9-footer and we misread it by an inch and a half and it lips out, that's not really helping us much, right? So we've got the most precise system in the world. Go through the play section, you'll 100% agree. Like, if you go through the video section in the app,
okay,
when we first released the app, probably made a bit of a mistake. We didn't have the play section like the video content as good as it should have been. Whereas it's got everything you need now to become a great green reader.
Okay, that's great. And what are some stats that people need to know, Ralph, when it comes to putting? Like, how many putts should you have around? What are some different stats?
Yeah, so that's interesting. Like, I feel like one of the big, I love stats. I'm a numbers guy, but I feel like one of the great things we've had, especially for junior golf, if somebody's going to try to become a good player, I think it's good to track your stats.
Right.
And I don't always think, maybe it's not important to know, like, I don't have like a hard number. I just like to say, okay, well, here's our baseline, as long as we're getting better. Right. So let's see where we're at now, and then let's try to improve from there. Right. Like, the past is the past, but we can start today and start getting better today for the future. And and tracking it, I think, does motivate us. I think it's important to track it. I work with a lot of juniors, like, oh, my putting's bad. I'm like, actually, you're a bad chipper. You just keep chipping. It's 12 feet, right? And I remember missing the 12-foot putt, but how about you chip a little bit better,
right?
And get it to 4 feet, and then you'll make those more. So I think stats are important, because otherwise, like, and then we might miss a putt to get into a playoff. Like, oh, we missed a 7-footer, right? Well, if your strokes gained, if you still had a great putting round, right? Like, we forget about the 12-footer we made on 17 to put us into that position, right? So I feel like our ego and how we perceive things can get thrown off a bit. Whereas if you look at the numbers, they don't typically lie.
Gotcha. So for those that's listening, we got Ralph Bauer, who's created an unbelievable app called the Tour Read golf app. You can download it, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And Ralph, what are your expectations for this app? Do you like how many golfers what's your goal in terms of how many people you'd like to have using this app?
Well, just as a golf coach, I've always enjoyed it when, I get feedback from people and they say they're enjoying their game more, right? Like that's where I derive a lot of my, personal satisfaction out of my job, right? So, and I mean it's a business too, but obviously the more people that I could help, the better, right? Like, as one person, it's hard to, teach. You can only teach one person at a time, basically, right? But so this is a way to, I've put my whole life into. I feel like where the green reading system is at now, it basically took me a lifetime of, learning from the best players in the world, you know, helping them get better. I always think if you can help a +8 handicap get a little bit better, it's going to help everybody else too, right? Um, so yeah, I think, and I think people would enjoy their game more if they're not like whoever you are, you're going to enjoy your golf more if you're not constantly blaming your putting stroke, and that's not the problem.
Right. That's correct. All right. And what's the cost for the app, Ralph?
So the app's in the App Store. We're hopefully going to come up with an Android version, in the new year.
That'd be great. That'd be great, Ralph. We waiting for that Android app.
No, I know. So it's in the App Store now. It's $100. It's $100 subscription. We're constantly making upgrades to it. We're at, but it's just a turnkey system to help you learn what I think is most important part of putting.
Right. And that's just a one-time fee, or monthly, or
no, it's $100 a year. I apologize for that. So it's $100 subscription for a year. And we're just getting good, like people love it. They putt better. Yeah. They don't want to give it up. They use it to practice, and it just streamlines things. If you think about you want to play golf, if you could get quite a bit better quicker with your putting, then that gives you more time too to work on your chipping, right? It gives you more time to we only have so much time to devote to practicing. And if you can take care of this much quicker and get much better, I also think nobody high fives, or nobody fist pumps rather, after 7-iron. But I see lots of fist pumps after a putt, right? So putting is important.
Right, the fist pump. Man, this is great. So this is so Ralph, who would you like to give a shout out to that's kind of helped you along this journey of developing the app? Anybody that's been right there with you to kind of, to give thanks to them.
Yeah, like I've got a partner, right? It's I've been there are 3 engineers, right? Okay. And they've been wonderful. We're all golf nerds. Hope that doesn't them, but we are, right? So we're all golf nerds, and it's been a lot of fun working with them, and learning from them and bouncing ideas off each other. And that's been a lot of fun for me as an instructor. I've been lucky. Because I've been on tour for so long, I'm lucky to be around the best coaches, the best trainers, the best club fitters, the best, and the best of it. I've ever, if there's something I don't know, I can call up the best person in the world at that. Right. This discipline, and ask him what he thinks, right? So, or her what she thinks. But so they've been great. It's been awesome.
That's good. That's good. So in just a minute, I'm going to get your handle so everybody can follow you and know where to go to look at the app. But we're going to get into a section as we wrap up. We're going to get into a section called Tap Out, or who would you rather play with? Okay. So if you had to pick a player to go out and play around the golf with, would you rather play with Tiger or Rory?
Tiger.
Why?
Massive respect for both. I mean, Tiger's. Tiger Woods.
Yeah. When we get finished, I'm gonna tell you a little story about Tiger when we get finished. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bryson or Dustin?
Bryson.
Okay. Any reason why?
Just super interesting guy. So's DJ. DJ's a great guy.
I think Bryson would be perfect for the tour read app.
Yeah, Bryson's just it's just everything's going on. It's just a lot of fun to listen to him, and bring a pad and pen and paper and write down as much as you can.
Gotcha. Scotty Scheffler or John Rahm?
Can I play with both those guys? I don't know.
That's the tap out part. You tap out.
I get tap out on that one. That both those guys would be, they're so similar how they go about the game. Like they're basically like artists, right? Like they see things very well. Both the caddies are good friends of mine. I'm gonna tap out on that one for sure.
Tap out on that one, see?
Yeah.
I did tap out. All right, Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas?
Yeah, that's a tough one too.
You want to tap out?
I guess Spieth, because it'd be fun to watch his short game, because he's got flair, even though JT's is just as effective, I feel like. But Spieth's Jordan's is more like, wow, how do you hit that shot type thing.
Right. There you go. All right. Let's go to the LPGA Tour. Lexi Thompson or Brooks Henderson? I think I know which one you'd rather play with.
Yeah, I got to watch Lexi warm up, but she played in Vegas, and I was there with some of my players, and she's very, very impressive. Just handled herself so well. She almost made the cut there. Yeah, very impressive. I got to go with Brooke though.
I know that's your homegirl, right? You're Canada, right?
Yeah.
I figured I'd get you with that one. I figured you'd go with Brooks.
That was kind of an easy one.
Right, that was an easy one. All right, man. So tell us how we can follow you on social media. How can we get the app? Just kind of give us a couple of details.
Yeah, so the app is called Tour Read Golf. It's in the App Store. I'm on. I try to put as much stuff on my Instagram as I can to actually help people. Right.
That's where I found you. Yeah.
Yeah. So my Instagram, it's just Ralph Bauer, right? And I'm on Twitter. I don't post as much on there. I guess it's a little bit trickier, but it's called Canadian Golf Pro, I think, on Twitter. But big fan of this and anything that's helping out juniors, and obviously a big fan of. And my first day coaching wasn't on a range; it was going to a tournament with juniors, helping them to play better in tournaments. So I've always thought of myself, as a coach, and but Instagram is Ralph Bauer. The app's called Tour Read. If you're not sure downloading it, our website's pretty good. Tour Read Golf. Got a lot of information on there.
Right, and you still have the and Ralph, y'all still have the trial period too.
Yeah, there's a 7-day trial period. Right. Which that way at least you can go out and try it and see if you like it. Yeah. Right. But everybody that tries it likes it. So okay. But
yeah, I think that'll be good for most people that that just to try it and see if they like it.
Yeah, it's safe, right?
Safe route.
Safe, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anything you want to leave our junior golfers with? Any words of wisdom when it comes to putting? I know they're going to go out and try the app,
Yeah. So if you put the app aside for now, I would say that kind of a big way to get, like, I feel like I see a lot of junior golfers who might have a bad putting round and they almost wear it like a badge of honor. Like, I shot 78, but I had 38 putts, right? They're all
right.
I 3-putted 17. And then their buddy's like, yeah, well, I 3-putted 16 and 17, right?
I've seen that too. Yeah.
It's almost like they're proud of it. Right. And I always ask people, like, hey, even if you're not putting great, pick 2 putts that you're really proud of for the day and go over those in your head. And maybe tell your buddies about those ones. Go up to your buddy, it'll shock them or her, and say, hey, I just putt on 16.
Right.
Footer left to right. I thought it was 8 inches. It was. I hit it right in the middle. It was awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help you long term become better putter than just complaining about something.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about complaining. My wife always tells my son, tell yourself you're a great putter. Don't call yourself a name just because you had a bad putt or just because you had a bad round. Tell yourself you're a great putter. Thoughts are things. And if you tell yourself that you're a great putter, hey, you may go out to become a great putter,
I think you will. I think if you do tell yourself you're a great putter, then you'll be like, well, I'm a great putter. What do great putters do? Well, they practice their alignment, they practice their green reading, and then you start developing the habits of a great putter, and then you will be a great putter. But I think we have to, your wife's smart to say that. We have to say it first before we can do it.
That's exactly right. Well, listen, Ralph, it's been a great podcast. I know we're going to get a lot of people that are intrigued about the tour read, so they can go out and make more putts, have lower scores. And I think that's the goal of anybody that wants to get better at golf is, you want to get lower scores. I don't care whether you a weekend golfer, a tour golfer, NCAA golfer, a junior golfer. I think the goal is to get lower scores, and I think they can do that if they can make more putts.
I agree. Ro, thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Okay. Hey, thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Junior Golf Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in this topic. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or on any of our social media networks. See you next week for a new episode